they're zeros and ones, and it makes no sense. And I mean, I'm frozen. And finally, they dissipate. And the craft fluctuates in color, and then it takes up. It takes off in about 200 feet, and it moves again. And I'm looking around at it, and finally I hear branches breaking behind me. That's John. He's sitting about over here. And I looked, and I got all my people with me. So I don't know if I'm so fixed on what's going on, or I don't know where they went. I have no idea. So then we had pursuit after that. My voice is going again, dry. So John, can you just take over the pursuit?
Well, what I'm going to explain to you guys right now, I think the feeling I got tonight, and not from everybody, but people wanted us to come in tonight, and I know it's been over a year ago, Colonel Halt said it was ET, okay? And I can't explain to you what drew him to say that, but he said it was, okay? And not only did he say that, but he said, I feel it was ET because of the way it acted, what it did, and everything else. And I know a lot of you probably heard the Colonel Halt tape, and if you ever come out here, maybe it wouldn't hurt sometime to take the tape and listen to it and be out of here and get a feel for what he was dealing with. But what we're trying to explain to you is that we're trying to give you the facts as we remember it, what we saw, and what we felt, okay? And as some people were asking me a question coming down the road. Well, was it aliens? Was it military? Was it this? I don't know for sure, but I think as human beings, you can get a feel for what we were dealing with and an idea of what we're trying to tell you as far as what we remember. And because we're not going to tell you it was ET, or we're not going to tell you all this other stuff, doesn't mean that you don't have a right to speculate, but it would be speculation. But I think the facts lay out there was something that's unexplainable, that's something that, if he has a download, which, I mean, the fact that these codes are there and there's something to them, that he had a download for something. And you can speculate where it was from, but it obviously wasn't our government, you know? So there is some facts there that are leading up, and when what comes out, what was first analyzed, it's going to be very interesting for you to try to figure out, you know, by what it says, because we've had to try to make sense of some of it too. But we clearly had an encounter with something that's unknown, that isn't normal, that wasn't an aircraft, you know, as far as what we've ever seen since, and that's what Colonel Halt even said. He's never seen anything in the inventory like that. And I stayed in a lot longer than these guys did. I was in until the middle, about 2004, and I deployed overseas, and I've never seen anything like what I drew, you know. And I've seen some different things that I've seen lasers. I've seen some things flying around that don't look the same as they did 20 years ago, but it doesn't add up to what, you know, what was there that night. I've looked at every possible weapon, everything I've ever seen, and somebody asked me about ball lightning. Well, how many of you heard of spook lights? Yeah. Spook lights, the MOD emits is this, and they have an EM effect and they have energy. Now, am I trying to say now, well, that's what I think it is? No. But that is something that, if you look at it, could explain some of what we might have dealt with, because there's definitely an energy field out there, guys. And it's out there in that field, okay? And we found it the other night again. It's out there in the area of the field out there where we were. It's there, and it was verified on instruments. Okay, we took a starlight scope, and it responded anywhere like what Colonel Halt said he saw. If you listen to what he said in the air, and I was out there the third night about beams of light coming down, I saw him. Okay, I had something fly right over the top of me, shoot down, and go through a vehicle, and I've said that before. Okay, and here's the last thing that I'll add to you. Okay, I'm the only one that was out there both nights, and a lot of the same feelings were there both nights. And this is what I've been told happened to me. And I'm saying this not because I'm trying to be afraid to admit it, but on his night, he gave a description of it going into a triangular object with blue lights and everything else going on. And that was when I remember being close to it and the bright light hit. If you followed the story at all and looked at some of the comments Adrian Westenz has made, okay, and he's made some statements over the years. One of the things he said had happened was the object went into a triangular object, okay, and exploded into blue lights. And guess who was out there when it happened that time? That was me. Okay, and I was out there. Okay, I haven't talked a lot about it. Colonel Halt has not want that out. He's done a really good job over the years of trying to discontinue anybody who was out in front of him. But he first came out and said no one was out there, but his small team. The radio transmissions come out and says my name on it. Then he said, well, yeah, he might have been out there. I think I talked to him on the phone. Well, I don't think there were cell phones in 1980. Okay, I'm just being honest the way this is played out. And I did get up, I met up with him, and if you listen to what Sergeant Ball says, he says, not at this time, we'll let him know when they can come out. I got clearance to meet up with him. And I got permission to go forward with Adrian. And I ran towards something with Adrian. He did go to the ground, okay? He told me he felt he was held down to the ground. And then I remember getting close to something just like these lights, but it was a lot brighter. And then I don't understand what happened, and I turned around and they were gone and the people were behind me. And the description of what Jim has said and what Adrian has said match up. It turned into some kind of triangular object with blue lights on it. Okay. So, yes, there was something that's very unexplainable and very strange. And I'm being as honest as I can of what I saw, what I remember, and what came out under hypnosis.
Did you see any entities coming out of the cloud?
Well, there were blue lights. I mean, there were blue transparent lights. And it's a lot like Colonel Halt describes of in the sky. They were kind of a transparent type light. And if any of you ever listened to the initial CNN report, and this is before Jim and I talked about it, Colonel Hall talked about it, Chuck DeCaro went after the story. And he was almost dared to find witnesses, and he did. One of the statements made by Master Sergeant Ball that was out there, where there was two. It looked like there was something flying around doing the grid search, but also we saw a blue light with something inside of it that could have been a life form. Now, I didn't see that part with the life form, but he said that. And that came out way before Sergeant Penniston and I or anybody else talked about it.
Sergeant Penniston, thank you. I can't believe you called me a retired.
But if you look at the story from the first time it came out, there was a captain that was blacked out, but he said there was something taken by General Williams to Ramstein. Okay, I don't believe it was movie tape only for one reason. You don't have cameras like that back then, and it would have. And public affairs would have been the only one that had them, and they were huge. And to get a power source was impossible, and to get them out there was even going to be harder. But there was cameras, and there was pictures taken. And there was, the radio transmissions were recorded. And they kept them. And if you ever, people think the motion picture is going to be what would break this open. No, listen to what we were saying and how we were reacting. And then you have another guy that's come forward and was in that tower over at Bentwaters and can see a hue over the forest, and he saw a white light shoot, bluish light shoot out of it and shoot something out of it. So we were dealing with some kind of energy force that could change and do some different things. And clearly, when I entered it, and I'm telling you this because I know I got so close to something, people from behind me have made statements that something happened to me.
Who took the photographs, the military personnel? Who were they?
Oh, who took the plane? It was supposed to have been General Williams. And it was supposedly...
No, I mean, who actually took the photographs?
Well, I mean, see, Jim can explain that too. We always had cameras on the security units. And when Halt went back, he got a Geiger counter. He got a disaster preparedness. Sergeant Nevels took a camera. I'm sure the shift commander had a camera and other people had cameras. And they were snapping pictures. And there was pictures taken. And a lot of them did come out. Even some of the people that went out to the area where they found these impressions, and they came out fogged. And by doing research, the fogging means there was radiation. Because that's what would cause the fogging. Okay? Yes. If you get a camera in an area of radiation, it will fog the film.
Yeah, I think Neville developed his own.
And it came up fogged.
And
right.
it came up fogged.
It came up fogged. And so did some of the other films. But I do believe that with the roll going like that, there was more than one, I was told. Probably one was the command post tapes, and the other one was some pictures. So there's a good shot there using some pictures. But the tape is what will blow it open, guys. Because we're talking about this stuff as it's going down. And you can even hear it. That was another thing about the initial Halt tape. Did you hear the radio traffic in the background? That was real. That was going on. He was out there. He was in the forest. And some people, well, I didn't hear trampling. I didn't hear this. Well, okay, fine. But it was legit tape of what he was describing. And think about this. Do you think a lieutenant colonel that has a career as a career officer would make a tape to bring it out to pull people's legs and go through everything he did? He didn't. It's legit. He didn't expect that tape to come out. He didn't expect the memo to be released. We didn't expect any of that. It happened. And then we were accused of denying or covering things up. And then after we've told people what we saw, then we've had the lighthouse, the helicopters, Apollo, all this other stuff. But we're honestly trying to tell you what we remember. we're giving you some of our hypnosis tape for the first time, and it's hard to deal with that. And you can speculate on what's facts or we were led, but there's a lot of good stuff in there that doesn't add up, and why is it there? And the fact that these codes came up. And I understand there were some people upset it's taken this long. But I'm not speaking for Jim now, but I didn't know what binary codes were until after the numbers were shown to me, it was explained to me what they were, and that they're verifiable. And they are. And how could you sit down and make up numbers to match something that really did come out? I don't. He wrote something down that he had to download, and it's there.
You found those numbers?
Jim was the one that remembered those numbers and wrote them down, and it's in his notebook. And Jim, when did you write the numbers down?
Well, the morning that we went back in there, that's when I went back out and did the plaster cast. So it was the following day, on the 27th.
Yeah.
And that's because it was just driving me crazy. It was something I had to do. I don't know how to explain it. So anyway, after I finished it though, the drive, to do this, I had to do that. Once that was finished, I stopped and it was done. It's no different than the drive that John was getting on the night with Halt to go out there. He got out of his apartment, went up the kind of ride to base, and went out there. And then he tells me on the Monday morning, he says, "Jim, we're in the car." He goes, "Jim, I went out there." I said, "What? You went out there again?" I said, "What the fuck would you do that for?" That's what I said to him. He said, "I couldn't help myself. I had to go out." That was John. I had to go out there. I said, "Oh no, John." I said, "That's messed up." It is, because why would you want to go through that again? What would he go through again? What we experienced on the first night. So anyway, John actually has a key to this stuff that he can't remember everything, but it's there because the only guy that's been there on 2 nights, on both those nights, he's a valuable witness. Go ahead, John.
Can I just ask why you thought to fire on it when it was unidentified? What made you feel threatened?
I had a WTF moment. I was scared. I was 26 years old. I was in fear of our lives. I wasn't armed, and I wish I would have been armed, because I would have emptied a couple clips in that. That would have started something, I'm sure. I don't think it would have hurt.
Did you try and communicate with it first, or was it just an instinct to fire?
Put this in your mind. You're out here looking in this forest, and you thought it was an aircraft crash. You get up to it, this light, and then you see a triangular craft up here, and it seems aggressive because it's not something simple like a crash or something unknown. Yeah, it felt hostile at that point. Was it hostile? I know it was doing.